Hello, it's Luke Michael Howard, PhD and clinical hypnotist here with another episode of our very popular story time. These are videos that I share with you where I do change the name and any identifying facts about past clients that I've worked with. So obviously confidentiality of the client is still protected, but there's some very interesting stories. And this was a client that actually came to me a good few years ago, and he was reporting problems with insomnia. He couldn't have a good night's sleep and hadn't had a good night's sleep in about 10 or 15 years, and he'd come to see me and he was in his mid-20s. And he said to me, listen, I'm suffering from insomnia. I know why I'm suffering from insomnia. He's like, a couple of years ago, I had this job, and there was this very important report that needed to be filled out, and our bosses would regularly just basically throw it on us at the last minute, so we'd have to stay up overnight in order to have the deadline. He's like, didn't have a problem with sleep really until that point, so I know when it started. So when anyone tells me they know when their problem started, I usually know that they don't really know. I mean, they think that they know, but they don't. So long story short, this gentleman that hadn't had a good night's sleep in about 5, 10 or so years, he came to see me, and we regressed him. And basically what had happened is when he was about 10 or 11, he had a report, coincidentally, that needed to be handed in for a school project that he had. And he didn't get it done, so he'd stayed up the night before, unbeknownst to his family, to do this special report. Didn't get any sleep, and then he forgot about that moment, and he didn't have a problem with insomnia for another 10 or so years. But it was essentially that seed, or that landmine, if you will, was planted when he was 10 or 11. And basically what happened is when we communicated with his unconscious mind, the part that's responsible for all of his emotions, for your emotions, feelings, patterns, and so forth in life, that his unconscious mind wanted to keep him up, to prevent him from sleeping, because it felt that if it kept him up, he'd had extra time in order to complete his work, so he'd get a good passing grade at school, and subsequently at college would have passing grades there and would not lose his job as an adult man. So it had made a complex equivalent, a mathematical equation, if you will, of 1 + 1 = 20,000. Because remember, your unconscious mind basically has the intellect and the emotional stability of a 5-year-old. So it just essentially kept him awake most nights because it thought it was doing him a favour, so he wouldn't get fired, he wouldn't be kicked out of school, wouldn't be kicked out of college or university, and he'd be able to have a good job. So when we made him realise that in actual fact, even though his unconscious mind thought that it was doing good for him, and maybe one or two nights it was doing good for him for allowing him to stay awake, that every single night subsequently for the rest of his life, we didn't have a report that needed to be in the next day. It was actually putting undue stress on his nervous system and making him quite sick and quite ill. So it was in direct a conflict with the unconscious mind's prime objective, which is to keep you healthy and to keep you safe. And when he realized it, well, more importantly, when his unconscious mind realized it was going against its prime objective to keep him healthy and safe, it was quite easy then to just let go and have some insight into the change. And subsequently we did about 2 or 3 sessions together, and stayed in contact with him for a good couple of years after. And I was happy to report, I think it was after the second session, he sent me this lovely email, which was that he had the first night's sleep, solid 8 hours all through, without any Xanax, without any medications, without even any melatonin, for the first time that he could remember. And he was so happy about that, and I'm happy to report that subsequently he didn't have any more sleep issues after that. So that is the story of the client who suffered from insomnia. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a little bit of insight. I've been Luke Michael Howard, PhD, clinical hypnotist and owner of Hypnosis. Always believe.